Hey guys, Scott Fishman here. Today we have a great guest. MLW is doing some amazing things. I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to check it out, but they have a big event coming up Azteca Lucha on Triller TV Plus live. If you haven't had tickets yet for the Cicero Stadium in Chicago, it is sold out right now. So the only way to watch is going to be on that Triller TV Plus. So it's amazing to see Lucha Libre take center stage as MLW likes to do. And who better to talk about it than Jesus Ricardo Rodriguez? So Ricardo, I don't know. I had some trepidation having talking to you today, just because I don't know if I've fully forgiven you for being an accomplice to what you did to Santa Claus all those years ago. But I'm willing to be professional today and talk to you. So, how you doing
I
today?
Thank you for having me. I'm sure Santa will be okay. He seems to be doing all right. He's back to work, so he should be fine. But no, I mean, I'm glad, happy to be here after all these years that I know we've connected before on social media, but like seriously, I'm happy to be here and talk about like this amazing show that we have coming up in just a couple of days, honestly. And it's super exciting to be back in Chicago for myself, and then for MLW to return to Chicago. And what better way to come back to a place like Chicago that has a huge Latino and Mexican fan base than with Lucha Azteca Lucha. It's gonna be super awesome. We're gonna have the best luchadores from MLW, the best luchadores from CMLL, and we're gonna be coming together and we're gonna be performing and having a hell of a show.
Yeah. You talk about all those years ago before we get into MLW. I just remember SummerSlam weekend. I was walking down the sidewalk and I actually took a photo with you. I'll share it with you on social media, but that was like 11 years ago. And then
That's
when
a
you think
lot.
back 10 years ago, is, when you were, you're going on your 10-year anniversary later this year for when you were let go from WWE. How do you kind of reflect on that time now, almost a decade ago, and all the stuff that you've done since? And, when a lot of people get let go, you never know what direction they're going to go in. They may
Right.
even give up on the business, but it seemed that you kind of took that experience and really rolled with it. And now you're wearing so many hats within the professional wrestling space. So when you think back then and how you felt now, I mean, what would you kind of tell yourself back then to see where you're going, and then kind of look back on that run and how it kind of prepared you to what was happening? I'm a firm believer in, everything happening for a reason. So take me through those thoughts as you kind of come up on this milestone.
It's honestly amazing thinking back that that was 10 years ago when and actually the story is I called the office and I told them, hey, I'm done. I'm not happy. I'm still at home. I didn't get on the plane. And when they go like, we'll just stay home and then we'll talk, we'll figure it out. And then they called me back a couple of days and they're like, yeah, we're gonna grant you release. I was like, thank you. At the time, I was 29 at the time, 28, 29. Um, and it's insane to think about like what has happened since. Obviously, just like many people, like when we go through our first breakup, in high school, we think that life is over, we're never gonna love again, and we have all these thoughts that life is done. But then thinking back of also too what I was very grateful to have accomplished since. Uh, I went to India. I opened up a market in India under the Great Khali that had not been touched for years, and WWE had not been to India in what 14 years or so prior to my time there. And then eventually Impact went as well too. TNA, WWE went back to India, and then now there's an independent scene in India that wasn't there prior to me being there. I got to go and spend time throughout Europe and in Australia. I got time in Mexico. I was helping run schools throughout the USA. And actually during COVID, just a couple of years ago, I spent an entire year in Cairo, Egypt, opening up a wrestling school. Unfortunately, due to COVID, it was just constant start and stop, so it didn't come to fruition. But the way I had hoped, but that's still something that's still being worked on. But I thought that everything was done when I left WWE and I came to the realization that I had just let go of my dream. Um, but I'm grateful in hindsight that I did because there's a lot of things that I would have thought that I would have accomplished had I not taken that step and just said, you know what, I'm gonna bet on myself, and I should have done it a lot more intelligently as well. I didn't approach the situation the healthiest of ways, but I was very thankful that throughout the process, even through all the lows, there's always a high back up, and I was grateful that I was able to build back up. And it was a process. Don't get me wrong, and I hated it at the time, but I'm glad that I had to go through that process, through all the heartbreak, through all the downs, so that I can learn to appreciate what I have now, and having this ability now to own my own wrestling company, to be working with MLW with such an amazing roster, to be back with people that I had not seen in years. That to me is a blessing. So I'll forever be very grateful to Court Bauer and everybody at MLW. So I'm very proud of everything that we're building with MLW and what is going to lead in the future.
What do you mean by the approach you took? What I mean, because it seems like you did all these great things. What would you have done differently? I mean, when you think back, what do
The
you see
only
the
thing that
positives?
I learned that the only thing that I can truly control in life is how I react to things. Like life is gonna happen on life's terms, and I didn't react to them the proper way. I was very angry and bitter, and very hateful, and I just hated everything. I hated life, and I hated wrestling, and I hated anybody that was in my mind opposing me in what I want to accomplish. um, and it took a while to learn that the only thing that I can control is how I react. So I had to learn that aspect, and I mean, and it's no secret that because I'm very open about like my addiction issue. So getting sober, getting clean was a huge step forward, and realizing all of that. So I'm very grateful that I was able to do to in hindsight again, and I have to stress in hindsight, I'm grateful that I went through all that to appreciate what I have now. At the time, I hated it, but again, right? So it's just a matter of the opportunities I was given when I learned to appreciate things and be more mindful. And now being in the situation I am with such an amazing company, with MLW, and then what we're leading into again is super important to be grateful for what's ahead, because it allows me to focus even more on what I have now and what we have building up.
Um, do you think part of I mean, you were so entrenched with Alberto Del
Mm.
Rio on WWE television, and he's such a polarizing figure, even though you kind of weren't linked with him toward the end. Do you think that kind of played in perception when you were on the independent scene and getting opportunities just
No,
because of, but you think that kind of hurt because you were so, your top time in WWE was linked to him. And then when he
mhm.
had all these things going, he had, he's a very polarizing, controversial figure. And do you think you got lumped into that sort of thing?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and it was a guilty by association type deal, and then it's an unfortunate thing that happened. Uh, that's neither here nor there anymore, but because that's all in the past.
Right.
Uh, so we've both grown and learned from situations as such, and we just move forward. And ultimately, that's what it is. We just move forward. We take what happened in the past and we just leave it back there, learn from the mistakes, and just keep going forward. Because I think it was Jelly Roll that said something about like the rearview mirror. So
Yeah, love it. So when you look back over the years that you've been a part of professional wrestling, it's amazing to see, even on WWE television, we're seeing representation of the
oh
Latino
yeah.
community. How is it for you to watch and kind of see not just, a Rey Mysterio or, back then it was like Rey Mysterio or Alberto or something like that. Now you're seeing so many on every single brand, whether it's Legado del Fantasma or the LWO. It's like, how proud are you right now to kind of see this representation as well? You seeing it in MLW too, but it all trickles down, rising ships and all that. So as a fan for you, how is that kind of seeing that
I
kind of
mean,
take
as
off?
as a fan, it's amazing to see that our flags are being raised, that our language is being spoken, that my name is not Jesus, it's Jesus, that our culture, right, is being embraced. Um, so that to me is always very rewarding to see Selena Vega go in front of the Puerto Rican audience and get that reception that she did. That's amazing to see. Now going into this event on the 11th, with Azteca Lucha, that is being represented by Latinos, for Latinos and for the entire world, for everybody to enjoy, and get just a little bit more educated on what we are, who we are, and what we have to provide, for out there, for our culture, for the entire world to see the mask, the high flying, the style lucha libre. We may have some issues with that Cesar Duran fella, but yeah, no, it's still embracing our culture and sharing our culture. with anybody that's out there.
One thing I love about MLW over the years is Selena De La Renta,
Oh
who's
yeah.
kind of been a very popular fixture of the promotion over the years in different times. You're getting a chance to work with her, not only in front of the camera, but behind the scenes. It's amazing to see her getting these opportunities to work in different facets. She does broadcasting, she helps with creative and when it comes to the women's division, and you also being a producer. Talk about collaborating not only on screen but behind the scenes when we're not seeing. It's always like the unsung heroes backstage that are helping put the great product and show we see on television together. So I'm always fascinated on those conversations as well.
It's honestly amazing because I've known her for her entire career. Same thing with somebody the likes of Janai Kai. I have known her literally from the very first day she walked into a wrestling school. Um, so it's rewarding to see their growth and development, to see where they started and where they're at now, and what presence they have. And that's something that's so admirable if you look at them, and then the moment they walk into a room, the presence that they carry with them, and I do feel that that is able to be portrayed on camera, which is very hard to teach. It's just something that it takes time to develop, and it takes a lot of errors and mistakes to polish. But those two, specifically those two, and have it, and I'm beyond happy that I get to be in Promociones Dorado with them, leading into this event coming up in Chicago.
And it's really exciting because it's gonna be a trios event, and Atlantis will be making his MLW debut. So that's gonna be electric. I remember growing up in seeing WCW and seeing
Mm.
the trios matches and the 8-person tags and the Vianos, and we're gonna see a Viano in this
Oh
involved
yeah.
in this match.
Oh yeah.
So take me through how excited you are about this. Set the stage for fans when it comes to this match that you're a part of, because for so long, maybe in a non-wrestling world, but now you're kind of getting the chance to kind of take center stage in the wrestling scene as well, because you've got all this experience, and it's exciting to see you have that opportunity on MLW TV right now.
It's honestly amazing to me as a lucha libre fan, because that's what I grew up on. I grew up on lucha libre. To be in a match, in a trios match, um, and the match that the parties that I have, to me, is amazing, because the very first wrestling hero that I ever had was Atlantis, and to be partnered up with them is
Wow.
first of all a dream come true, and then secondly, I think we already have the victory on our side just with that alone. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not taking anything away from the opponents that we have, because Vidus is an amazing technician. Felino is a legend within himself. So and then everybody else that's involved in the match. I mean, obviously we're very aware of their capabilities. But I mean, I did spend a lot of time with one of the top heels in the industry. So there might be a trick or two up my sleeve in order to secure that victory.
You talked about it earlier. I believe it's the Three Legacies Wrestling. Tell me, how is it kind of for you? How rewarding is it? You talk about having a company and things like that. How rewarding is it for you? Do you want to see more, collaboration with MLW or something like kind of? It's always important to have that developmental system and opportunities for people to kind of hone their skills and things like that. So how proud of you of that project and how far it's come along and some of the people that you've helped along the way as a result.
I mean, Three Legacies Wrestling was something that we started to. It's going to be 2 years in September. It's going to be 2 years in September here in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and just to see the growth and the development. And it's so beautiful because we do a lot of community events and we do a lot of community work. So that definitely helps because we have an entire community that backs us up. And so month in and month out, we're seeing the audiences grow, and we're able to provide something for these young up and coming wrestlers that want to have a platform to be able to showcase their abilities. And then that's something also too, because I did learn a lot from obviously just being backstage at MLW, and then seeing these young talent that they come in, and whether it's for 30 seconds or 5 minutes or 20 minutes, to be able to showcase their abilities for somebody else that's out there watching, maybe across the globe, either on Thriller or on YouTube or on TV, and they see somebody new that they never would have thought of before, and then they go and they research them, and then they become a new fan. So having that ability with Three Legs is wrestling as well too, bringing somebody in either with star power and then having them wrestle somebody who's local and then gain that rub, or and then it's happened before where that happens. We bring a name and we put them with somebody local. They hit it off very well, and then that name ends up hooking up that local talent somewhere else, and that's ultimately what we want to do, right? We want to create a platform for people to be able to expand and broaden their horizons. Because for me, at least here within the smaller area, it'd be selfish for me to try and keep them. Because ultimately, we want to build a place for them to launch off, so that eventually we can say, hey, that guy, that next world champion, that next tag team champion, step foot in a Three Legs He's wrestling ring. Or in this case, like obviously I want these guys to get the opportunity with MLW, so that especially now that we're back on the road and we're traveling again, between Chicago, Atlanta, Tampa, back to New York in August. Yeah, August 29th, I believe we're back in Chicago. I'm sorry, in New York. So to be able to have these avenues and these platforms for these local talent to be able to showcase their abilities to then become household names, that's definitely an ultimate goal, be it here or with MLW. And I'm actually glad too. I'm glad you mentioned that because Janai Kai will be on our May 18th event down here in Lancaster.
Oh, nice. When you guys were in Tampa recently, that was my first time seeing her live, and
Oh,
it
she's
was really
awesome.
great to,
Oh
yeah, it
yeah.
was really cool to see. Also, there was a moment with her. We were at the balcony watching the rest of the show, and I just witnessed, a little girl or two coming up to her and taking a photo, and you could
Mhm.
see how much that means to a young
Yeah.
talent
Yeah.
to have that opportunity to see that they're making an impact. And
We're building everlasting memories.
yes,
Ultimately, that's what we want to do. That we're building, creating memories for people to remember long term. I mean, it's been a year since I started with MLW, and that memory alone just sits with me because that was one of my bigger opportunities to get back on the saddle and then and rebuild after the downslope that I had, and one step forward. Um, and then again, so now that I've been with MLW for almost a year now, and then having every single show being sold out, especially this year, is a testament of the capability that the MLW has and what we're trying to build, and having that platform again for other people to venture into.
yeah, and why it's so important to have options and places to go for the
Absolutely.
guys, but also the fans. It's all, it's all connected, I think. So,
Absolutely. 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 100%.
before we wrap here, anything else that you want to say about any projects that you have coming up about MLW's future, or anything that you want in regards to Azteca Lucha? Floor is yours.
So yeah, I mean, obviously, like we have Azteca Lucha in Chicago at the Cerro Stadium, and it's sold out. So any way you can actually check it out is going to be through the Thriller TV app and website. We're building this amazing relationship with CMLL, which is very important. And the further that we go with this relationship, and then we're able to provide the best luchadores from Mexico, from the U.S. and internationally. So who's to say that there's not going to be an MLW takeover down in Mexico? And I'm in Arena, Mexico. That would be huge. Uh, but we have a lot of amazing events coming up, and like I said, between sorry, Atlanta, and then Tampa, back to New York. Eventually we'll be back in Pennsylvania. Um, this is an amazing brand, an amazing product that we're able to provide, and it's definitely something that should not be slept on, and it's something that we should be exploring more out there. Because, like I said, there's gonna be a lot of people that you're gonna come across at the MLW roster that you've never heard of before, but you will after that.
Yeah. And Arena Mexico has always been up on my bucket list of places to
Oh
see
yeah,
the show. So having these kind of shows is really great for someone who wants that experience but can't, isn't able because of timing or whatever in the neighborhood of
great.
going to it. So seeing this culture right in front of your eyes and seeing the celebration and the legacy and the history of it is really exciting to see. So
Yeah,
whether you're
and,
watching it at
and we're
home
building.
or
Yeah,
you're
we're
watching
building
it,
legacy. We're building a
yeah.
legacy.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it. Glad you're doing well. And, it's a great inspirational story that someone can learn from. That's for sure. So thank you so
Absolutely.
much.
Of course.